Oh yeah. Your bumper is a magnet. I stick on like a magnet. A magnet.
Yeah, it's magnetic. Join Sarojini on Caribbean Connections, Thursdays at 1. Walk through the sands with poetry from our great leaders and academics. Jive with us to soca, reggae, chutney, and calypso. Get your current cricket results, meet special guests, and more. Every Thursday, 11:30 Eastern, 1 p.m. Newfoundland time.
That thing just sticking on and sticking on and sticking on and sticking on there.
Hello, beautiful people. You're locked into Sarojini on Caribbean Connections on 93.5 FM, online chmr.ca, Bell Alliance 787, Rogers Cable 942. Be sure to tune in for your weekly dose of Caribbean vibes. Later!
Run it! This one the hit, yo. Lady Sarojini. Bless up everyone. This is Chad and Ben from Jamaica here representing for the host, Lady Sarojini with the Caribbean Connection Show. Hey, Panwa, 93.5 FM, CHMR 11.
Pardon me, I'm a criminal, so get on your searching. But let me tell you though, if you never know, I'm an island man with an African culture. No drugs, no in my bag.
Hello, my beautiful friends. Good afternoon and welcome to Caribbean Connections. A warm welcome to all of you listening on the island of Newfoundland and Labrador, in New Brunswick, Regina, Saskatoon, Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, Maple Ridge, and on the Sunshine Coast in beautiful British Columbia, and crossing over to New York, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., going even further to New Delhi, India, Berlin, Germany, Egypt, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Kenya, South Sudan, and Saudi Arabia. To my brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, hey guys, what's happening, y'all? In Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts and the Nevis, the U.S. Virgin Islands, in St. Croix, hello to the Atchisons, Barbados, Belize, the Bahamas, and to all of you whom I haven't mentioned, welcome. You guys know we love y'all, so thank you, and thank you for tuning into this awesome show. My name is Sarojini, and I am the host of Caribbean Connections. However you got here, welcome, and thank you. Thank you for giving me your time today. But I want to tell you guys, we have an awesome show today. We are celebrating International Women's Day 2025 right here on Caribbean Connections, y'all. And listen, we're going to open up today's program with Queen Omega and No Love before we delve into all the beautiful stuff we have planned for you today. So don't go away. Stay right there. And we're going to have Queen Omega open up today's program. And this is No Love.
Soul under mind control. Me see some man got no love in them heart. Me see them gone, no love at all. That's why this wicked jump on them off. who wants peace and justice. Freedom of choices and the right to take a stand against the great deception played upon the nation. Me no need no glasses to see that them no care. Them what fi kill we ambition and spoil we career. Look how them poison the atmosphere with all them hatred and greed, injustice and fear. Cause them got no love, no love, no love in them heart. Me see them God, no love in this world. Many lose them soul under mind control. Them jump on and got no love, no love, no love in them heart. Me see them God, no love at all. Little lion song rules over all and all and all. Yeah, happy stand tall. Wicked song happy fall. You know what? Tell them, little lion song no local. We international and we global. I'll tell you this, don't call we no local song this. Cause we are ambassador in this business. Little lion song no local. We international and universal. I'll tell you this, don't call we no local song this. Little lion, Lord of the country, blaze up the chalice. Come make we rally in the name of cannabis. Rinse the holy herb, ancient practice. Never label marijuana with the slackness. Little lion song, I burn Babylon. Cause say it's okay for man to move underhand. Every day and ridicule the good ganja man. No wonder why the crime rate is responding. The people need the trees to hold a meditation. And the working class what to ease them tension. Little lion sound, burn them down. Don't call we local, we international and we global. I'll tell you this, don't call we no local sound. This little lion sound, now run this reggae business. Na 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 na, we no local, we international and we global. Little lion sound, number one sound.
And you just heard Queen Omega, and that was No Love, opening up today's celebrations of International Women's Day in collaboration here with CHMR. So, good afternoon, everyone, again, and thank you for joining me and tuning in. First of all, I want to wish you a happy International Women's Day. As we know, globally, it is March 8th, but we are celebrating it here today in collaboration with CHMR. And we have another spectacular group of panelists here today for Women's Day. This is our 7th year, everyone, celebrating this amazing program, as I mentioned, in collaboration with CHMR. And we want to thank all of you who have supported us and encouraged us throughout the years. And of course, most of all, to those of you who have tuned in every week and especially every year for this special broadcast. So without further ado, I would certainly like to introduce our panelists to you. These amazing women have worked tirelessly and they've given so much of themselves towards the fight for a better tomorrow for women's rights. So we're going to start off and introduce you to Theresa Uchechi Ezeuko. Theresa is a Canadian award-winning author of Sochima, Awakening of the Gods, a historical fiction novel. Her other books include Story Tales for Little Minds, Jasmine the Ladybird, Catchy the Handyman, and Betty's Desire, and another book called Drew and His Treasure Hunt. Theresa's book, Jasmine the Ladybird, also made it to the award nomination list for an International Impact Book Award. She has equally served as a board member of several organizations, including the Writers Guild of Newfoundland and Labrador and St. John's Public Library, Newfoundland, Canada. She was once a vice president of the Writers Guild of Alberta, Calgary, Canada. As a distinguished author, her books are widely recognized and available at public and provincial libraries worldwide. She was also a jury member for the Newfoundland and Labrador 2018 Young Adults and Children's Book Award. She also served as a board liaison for the Youth in Programming, Planning and Strategic Development with the Writers Guild of Alberta. Theresa founded the Critic Curb show on Creativity and You, a fast-type production. She wrote, developed, and produced a radio show program titled Inspirational Timeout with Theresa Ezeuko for CHMR FM Mun Radio. Theresa was an instructor and educator with the Saudi Aramco Expatriate School Education Outreach Division, where she taught Headway English, pre-intermediate, and creative writing for English speakers. She has also worked as a language arts teacher for TESOL Education Outreach, Saudi Aramco Expatriate School. TESOL stand for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. Our next amazing panelist is Emily Mathews. Emily is a licensed paralegal with a graduate diploma in immigration law from Queen's University, originally from Burlington, Ontario, currently working for the provincial government right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Emily is an avid reader and a member of one of the longest-running book groups in Newfoundland. And our third panelist for today, celebrating this International Women's Day in collaboration with Caribbean Connections and CHMR, is Kelly Hickey. Kelly is a longtime feminist activist, a mom, and a women's empowerment specialist who lives in beautiful New Brunswick. She runs Strong Women Co., a company to help women be their strongest, happiest, and healthiest selves. With over 60,000 organic followers on social media, Strong Women Co. puts off workshops and programs to educate and empower, online and in person. Kelly also offers supportive and encouraging one-on-one programs for women looking to gain confidence and clarity on their path. And let's not forget the podcast, the Strong Women Power Half Hour, designed to help you on your path through womanhood. No matter if it's a corporate workshop on how to be a better communicator or an online workshop in self-love or strong women of the world, Kelly is always working to help women grow, evolve, and be stronger so they can reach their goals and be the leaders of their lives, families, communities, and workplaces. The more women we have on decision-making bodies, the better for us all.
Are you ready?
Hello, good afternoon, my sisters, and welcome to Caribbean Connections, another year of International Women's Day celebration. And let me tell you all, this is our 7th year of doing this. Can you guys believe this?
Absolutely. It's been like, I don't know, it feels like yesterday though. 7
I
years?
know.
Hey.
And Kelly has been here for all of them. We've managed to reel her in, but I know she loves it, and I know Teresa, you have been on board for a few of them. But with your busy lifestyle, we can't always reach you. And this is Emily's first time, and I do want to thank her because we were in a bind and I thought of her and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope it's enough time for her, but I'm gonna reach out, and if you guys know me, Kelly does, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna go till I get an answer, right, Kelly?
That's what I love about you, Sarojini. Yes, this whole IWD show came from like just a conversation we had in the hallway of CHMR about, 7 years ago and a month or something ago.
Yeah, and thanks to Rhea who
Mhm.
introduced us and put that seed in our head, and we got it going, and it came to fruition, and here we are 7 years later.
Mhm.
Right.
All right, so we will get started. So, for our audience to know and listeners, there are three themes this year, and you might be asking why. Well, the United Nations usually have a theme, and then there's a Global International Women's Day theme. And then there is a Women's History Month theme. And for various reasons, these themes are there. But this year, almost all of you panelists will be focusing on the Women's History Month theme, which is moving forward together, women educated and inspiring generations. And so, without further ado, I know we all have a lot to say. We will start with Teresa. But, Teresa, I love to talk about you too. So, here we go. Teresa, you've had a busy lifestyle. We all know that. And I'm so happy you're able to join us here today. And as an award winning author and a board member of several organizations, including the Writers Guild of Newfoundland and Labrador, as well as an instructor in some expatriate schools, I know you have a lot of experience. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, Teresa. Please give us your perspectives and insights into moving forward together, women educating and inspiring generations.
Oh, thank you very much, Ginny. Women in education has always been something very sensitive, something it's always a hot topic when it comes to, analyzing and reflecting on the role of women within their community and what they bring to the table. I can tell you from my own personal experience that it's not been an easy one, trying to juggle um, being a mother, being a wife. At the same time, you want to do something for yourself, right? You want to be that role model that the kids wake up every morning, they're proud that you're their mom, and your spouse looks at you every day and, he's grateful that he has a strong support system in place. And so most times, juggling life with motherhood and everything that comes with its challenges, you're walking through your emotions every day. It's never a bed of roses. There are challenging times. There are times when, you feel yourself drowning, but somehow you have to, put your head above water and act normal. Yeah. So I would say being an author is my own road has been really, it wasn't an easy one because I can remember there were nights when I had lots of sleepless nights. I had to get a manuscript out. I had to get the story out. I had to be in touch with the editor. I had to send lots of emails to publishers. It's like, it feels like it never stops. Like it's reoccurring things over and over and over again. And I tell you, you're doing that. You probably have a crying baby waiting to be fed. You're probably, having some online lectures to be, it goes on and on. But I tell you that the best part of this is when you realize that all the things that you're putting on the table, you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the society, and you're doing it for a purpose. Okay. Once you find a purpose in all of this, and then you realize that, okay, it's time to be impactful. It's time to, personally, I love being someone impactful, someone to make sure that live a life of reason, life of purpose. Make sure that there are people out there that will benefit from what I do, what I can do. And the question is, what can I do to help? And most times that's when education comes into play. Okay. If you're educated, you're empowered. If you're empowered, you can do so many things as a woman. So for me today, I my goal is to continue to inspire women all over the world. It's never easy, but it's doable. When it comes to education, there is no limit. You can go as far as you can go. You can do whatever you want with it. There is no limit to how much you can achieve. And um, I'm still very ambitious though. Like I still see myself publishing more books in the future, um, impacting more lives. As a literacy educator, I see myself making sure that children, anyone willing to learn, will learn and can learn. I believe that education for women, it's something inspiring. It's an eye opener because I see lots of women folks really, really passionate, really interested in gaining knowledge. I was opportune to work with some group of women or ladies. They're non-English speaking, but they really want to learn how to speak English. And it came to me to say, Teresa, can you teach us English? I was like, yep, I will teach you English if you teach me Arabic. I said, okay. So we strike a deal, okay? Teach me Arabic, I'll teach you English. So my first month learning Arabic, it was so difficult, I couldn't take it. I dropped out of the class.
Really?
Dropped out of the class. And the day I went into the class to teach these amazing women English, I could see their confusion. I could see they were having difficulties with understanding the lesson. I was like, oh, Miss Teresa, we're confused. It's difficult. And I told her, I was like, okay, that was exactly how I felt in my Arabic class. Like I felt I was confused. I thought it was difficult and I abandoned the class. So if I felt that way, these women are definitely feeling the same way. So what did I do? I went back, took the curriculum, the instruction. I went back and broke it into pieces, like into really tiny pieces. Came back to class, delivered that lecture, and everybody was happy. So there are all different ways you can work around this. And I tell you, education, it's great, it's fun, and I feel like more women should they should be educated because they can do a lot, not just for their children, not just for their family, but for the society in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Teresa. That was very enlightening. So we're going to move over to Kelly Hickey. So, Kelly, you, of course, are no stranger to Caribbean Connections, and you've been joining us from the onset of this special broadcast, International Women's Day. And to add to that, the seed really started with you, myself, and Rhea. And I'm very grateful for that because it has given me a chance also to bring so much, not only to the community at large, but to the university community because I actually put up physical posters. I'm old
Very good.
school, guys, okay?
I know, I love it.
Digital as well. I
You
send
would have
those
us
out.
come in and we would have to pose for pictures for the poster.
That's why I want your glamour shots, okay? I'm putting it on posters all over campus, okay? So I do that. So I try to reach out to as many people as I can, okay? And, for the last, I think, 3 years, you joined us from the Netherlands because you and your family husband and beautiful smart went there for work and everything else. Then you came back to Canada, and this is your third year in New Brunswick now that you're joining us. Before we go further, is there anything else you'd like us to know about you before we move into the topic of moving forward together, women educating and inspiring generations? Take it away, Kelly.
Thanks so much, Sarojini.
You-
I was trying to figure out what you were trying to fish me out, but what that information exactly you were trying to get me to say was. Is that the politics stuff?
Yeah, I know you've done some
Oh,
new
yes.
things there in helping to get your new woman
First woman
premier
premier elected in New
elected.
Brunswick.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, I worked hard on that, and she's doing amazing things in office. It's so wonderful to see. Well, In Canada, we have so just looking at the provinces premiers. So just the in Canada, there's 10 premiers in the and there's only 2 women. And so one is ours here in New Brunswick, and the other is Danielle Smith. Some women seem to be exemplary, and some women seem to be frustrating in leadership. But I would argue most women in leadership tend to be the exemplary kind of piece, because as stats, as the research from across cultures and across time has shown us, the more women on a decision-making body, the more environmentally friendly those decisions are, the more inclusive those decisions are, and the more forward-thinking those decisions are. So in general, having those women at the helm is really cool. And I felt like I just had to put my money where my mouth was, I guess. And as an immigrant in the Netherlands, I felt very limited for the positive impact I could have. You're talking about being impactful, Teresa. That's also something that's important to me. I've now realized, having done a few mega moves and starting from scratch a few times, you figure out who you are and what's important to you. And I actually get depressed when I'm not positively contributing. So I have to figure out how I can positively contribute. And our last government was conservative and really hurt a lot of people in Canada's poorest province. No one I know has a family doctor. So I met the now premier, and I grilled her and I grilled her again to make sure she was progressive enough for me. And she actually wanted me to run in the local area here. And there was a bit of a fight in the riding association, so it didn't happen this time, but everything in perfect time. And yeah, I guess I'm just to say that of my own education has been ever going and continues to be. And I am a student of life, as well as a student who didn't want to leave formal education for a long time too, with my undergrad and master's and things like that. I don't know, it took me a full 7 years or something like that because I didn't want to leave. But I'm a huge believer in education. And honestly, for me, growing up, education was something that was exalted as something that it makes, and you don't even just get educated for yourself, you get educated for your community. You get educated for everyone around you, because being an educated society elevates us so that we're more aware, we have more options, not just for jobs, but just like confidence and thinking and innovation and all these things that kind of that move us forward. And it wasn't until I went down in the States that I got my first anti-intellectualism, where people were kind of speaking down about education. And people were bragging that they hadn't been to university. And this was at a political rally in the States. This was a different kind of situation. But my eyes were open. I was like, wow, does not everyone value education the same? And honestly, I've gotten to a place where I now realize that there is a political divide, and there tends to be, if you are against education, there is a trend to be conservative. So it's kind of the conservation of knowledge, the conservation of the status quo. Don't grow and expand, right? Like, just stay there, stay in your own little pigeonhole, right? So there are people who benefit from people not having education, and those people are usually the ones in power. And then there's people who benefit from education, and that's from the grass on up. That is everyone. And the people up top also benefit from the lower income brackets and other people getting education, but it might not always be sold as something like that. So the education piece was something that's very important to me. Honestly, I was thinking about it more in an informal kind of way when it was talking about women educating and inspiring generations. Because I do think as women, we do so much informal education of each other and ourselves, including like just how women lead. We lead by example. We lead by teaching, and that we are the teachers. And if you want to go down the traditional gender divide of women being, primary caregivers, who taught you how to tie your shoes? Who taught you, your times tables? Who taught you all of these things? And so much of this is women across the world, even still now. So for us to really hold our beautiful, strong place as educators, we need to appreciate ourselves and appreciate these things that we just push off as, oh, that's just homework, or that's just mom doing that. It's like, this is very important, crucial kinds of things. But when we were talking about, what was it? The actual theme is moving forward together, women educating and inspiring generations. So just when we started with the moving forward together, right off the bat, I'm thinking about political movements all the time. And I'm also thinking about the political realities that's happening with the push to the right-wing fascist extremism that we're seeing in many places, including down in the States. So one of the things to help me kind of wrap my head around that and to be filled with hope instead of dread is to look at places in the world or places in history where people have rallied against such kinds of pressures and hopefully rallied successfully. And one of the things I love is I look at in recent history in a similar kind of fascistic regime in Brazil, they had Bolsonaro, and they did get that guy out. They chased him out of town, and he's still fighting different kinds of criminal charges. But one of the things I take full heart in is it's a Portuguese saying, and I can't say it in Portuguese, but this is an English statement that was said at all of the protests that were held, all the progressives and everyone who was against the fascistic regime of Bolsonaro. The main thing, the number one most repeated slogan was, nobody let go of anybody's hands. Nobody let go of anybody's hands. We are moving forward together, right? Because so much of an authoritarian regime is about taking little pieces of people and othering them and putting them in Guantanamo or concentration camps or whatever Trump is saying now. And we can look back even in German history in the Nazis, and they didn't just go after everyone at first. No. They started with the small groups. They started with groups that were kind of seen on the fringes of society that are not exactly desirable, right? Who did they start with? Trans and LGBT people, right? The right wing has been throwing so much at the wall to see what sticks. And unfortunately, one of the things that still sticks, because we're still there, is the issue around trans people. And so one of the things about moving forward together is we hold on to everyone's hands, and women, we're good at this. All children are our children. All children are our responsibility. So thinking about that and thinking about the generational education we can give folks and the inspiration at the same time, because I will say that when I'm down and out, nothing inspires me more than another woman. When I'm down and out, there's nothing that can really kind of like fill up my heart with hope. And it doesn't even take a lot, like it's like sometimes it's like someone just saying like I think we're going to get through this, or we were made for these times, or just these one-offs, and so that we can inspire each other to move forward. Because the reality is, in the majority of our cultures, we're still living in the patriarchy. The patriarchy is a war on women just by its system. It's a system that overvalues men and undervalues women. So it's just going to try to perpetuate itself like that. And we don't need to even take it personal. I think I took it personal for a long time in my early 20s, but I now know it's literally the system. And so that we can come together, no one let go of anyone's hands, and we fight against it. And we do that by supporting each other. We do that by educating each other. We do that by inspiring each other, having these honest conversations about sometimes things that are uncomfortable and saying sometimes scary words. But in my experience, women don't shy away from those things. We run into the burning buildings, right? And so I love to celebrate those women and, thinking about generational education. I look to my Indigenous brothers and sisters who talk about 7 generations backwards and 7 generations forward, and how you have responsibility to both. You have responsibility to 7 generations before you and after. And I love that. I think that's such a beautiful locus of just like your identity, to have responsibility for those behind you and in front of you, and then of course bringing all of us together so that we can move forward. So yeah, I think that's what I have to say at the moment.
All right. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for those passionate words of inspiration. But we're going to circle back to you. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about both what Teresa and you have to say. But now we're going to draw our attention to Emily Mathews. Now, this is Emily's first time with us, Caribbean Connections, and on this special broadcast of International Women's Day. But she's no stranger to us. We all meet in friend circles and we talk about a lot of things. And I must have to give Emily a special shout out to stepping up to the plate because we were in a bind and I wanted to do this broadcast. I even talked to both Teresa and Kelly. Is it worth doing it after IWD, which is March 8th? Because to me, it made more sense to do it before. So we were juggling so many things. So, Emily, thank you for agreeing. I hope I didn't put too much pressure on you and put you on the spot there. Thank you.
No, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you are welcome. So I'll introduce Emily to you. Emily is a licensed paralegal with a graduate diploma in immigration law from Queen's University, originally from Burlington, Ontario. She is working with the provincial government right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. She's an avid reader and a member of one of the longest running book groups in Newfoundland and Labrador. Emily, welcome to the program. You tell us what's on your mind with our very inspirational topic for today, which is the Women's History Month topic of moving forward together, women educating and inspiring generations. Take it away, Emily.
Wow, thanks for that intro. That was so nice. I'm going to start by saying, wow, Kelly, I would vote for you any day. That was so nice.
That's actually awesome to hear.
Yeah, no, I love that. Women educating and inspiring generations is actually one of my favorite topics I've ever been asked to speak on, and I appreciate you having me here. And yes, it was last minute, but I have a lot to say. I think that there are so many women in my life who inspire me on the day-to-day, women who I've never met before. And, as Kelly said, I can get quite emotional when I think about all of the women who have impacted me in positive ways and how they've grown me. And when you're down bad, like Kelly said, who do you look for? You look for a woman. I say that all of my soulmates are women. My best friend is my soulmate. My grandmother, she was a light of my life. My mother, my stepmother, my book group members. I looked at the goals and objectives on this topic, and the first one is honor. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't honor all the women who inspire us all of the time. And I joke a lot because I say that my book group is the most interesting thing about me, but it's true. My book group is 45 years old. I'm the youngest member by quite a few years, and now we're talking about our succession plan. And I have been a part of this book group since I moved to Newfoundland 4 years ago. And I moved here and I didn't have any friends, and it was COVID, and it was cold and dark outside, and they welcomed me in, and they have made me feel at home. And I am hosting next month's gathering at my house if anybody would like to join. We sometimes let people join remotely. And my book group is comprised of women who are so strong, and most of them, are educators themselves. A lot of them are former MUN professors or professors from other universities. Marilyn Porter, big name. And, actually, Theresa, you might know some of them from the Writers Guild. And I have to talk about Joan Scott, who passed in February of last year. And, Kelly, you're on mute.
I didn't know Joan passed. Joan was one of my teachers in grad school.
Oh, no.
She was getting old. Wow. Okay. Mad
So
love.
Joan
Mad
was
love those sisters. Mad love.
Yeah, so she is a big name here in women's studies. And she happened to be one of my very closest friends in Newfoundland. And that was probably my biggest loss of 2024. And we became very close because she asked me if I could digitalize her thesis that she wrote in 1993. And so I did that for her. And when I delivered her thesis back to her, she invited me inside her home, and we spent 6 hours on her couch and just talking. And she is one of the most inspirational people that I've met on a day-to-day basis. And I miss her very much, but anyways, I'm not going to cry. And we had book group last week, and we spoke about her, and we spoke about, how she would feel about the book that we had just read. And the book that we had just read was The Tenant of Wiltfell Hall by Anne Bronte. It was written in 1848. And at that time, women were still very much possessions of men. And it's a great read. It's a long read. It took me a bit to get through that novel, but I would recommend it to any woman today. A line that stuck out for me was when she wrote, like, the protagonist of the story, she wrote, I should have liked to be his friend more so than his possession. And I think a lot of women still live in this today. Where was I going with that? I can't remember. When I was asked to speak on this panel, I reflected on what International Women's Day means to me and how I felt over the past year, because I did listen to last year's broadcast by you, Sarojini. I did listen last year.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, and I loved it. And I think about the women who I would honor in 2024 and early 2025. I think about the liberal debate last night. It was really nice to see 2 women up there. Can't tell you what that meant to a lot of little girls across this country. Karina Gould, she's actually from my hometown, Burlington, Ontario. She was the youngest female member of parliament ever elected. Go Karina. And like Kelly said, there are women in politics who aren't for the feminist agenda. I think it's worth noting that every single Conservative member of Parliament voted no to women's reproduction health rights. Boo!
Gotta boo that.
Yeah, we gotta boo that. It's sad, but that's the reality of the situation. Women in politics are inspiring every day, and I think women across the world in politics I find very inspiring. Even women who are in politics. I think about this past year. I think about Giselle Pellicot in France, who started a movement. That was a very tragic case, and she took the opportunity to stand up for herself and for women in France. And as a result, France sort of had their Me Too movement this past year, and that was amazing to see. And it was interesting because, those who are unfamiliar with the case, she was a victim of being assaulted by numerous men in her neighborhood. They were all from her neighborhood. And my parents were on vacation in France when this was all happening. And my dad phoned me and he said, "Emily, there's riots, this is terrible, da 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 da." Almost complaining that his vacation was being impacted by this. And I said, "Dad, think about it. It was like 70 something men assaulted her within like a 20-mile radius of her home. Don't quote me on those numbers." I said, "Dad, how would you feel knowing that women every day wake up and we think when we hear about this case that there are 75 men within a 20-mile radius of ourselves that would be willing to do these terrible things to us," right? And he sat in that for a minute, and I think he heard me on that one. And having these conversations with men in our lives is very important, right? Because I don't think that they have the same unique perspective as we do. Men have brotherhoods, but I think sisterhoods are pretty intense, right? Speaking of sisterhoods, I wanted to talk about the Women's Professional Hockey League that started this year. Very exciting, great news for women across Canada and the United States. Something that I wish had existed when I was younger. I played competitive hockey my whole life, and I was always told, this is a hobby. This is never going to be a job for you. this is a method for you to get into university, and it, you know. But I was in Toronto a few weeks ago, and I was walking from the train station to a friend's house, and I saw droves of little girls getting off the train with signs with women's names on them, female hockey players that they were going to see, that they took the train to go see and spend their money. And you know what? I cried. I cried, and I thought that it was one of the coolest things that I saw in 2024. What else? Yeah, I think that was kind of it. When I think about women, you know, who mean a lot to me, and you know, Kelly said mega moves. When you make a big move and you change your scenery, the first thing you look for is community. And I feel very blessed to have found a community of women here, such as, you know, Sarojini, and you know, a lot of other friends that I've met through her and her daughter. So thank you all.
Well, thank you, Emily. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you all certainly have a lot of points we can discuss. And you know what? I know we all have things to do after, and I do want to circle back to you all and ask some questions. Very good, Emily. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Now, I'm going to just say a few words, and it's on the global IWD theme of 2025, which is accelerate action. And this is one of the themes that actually struck me because when I was doing my little research and I saw the line where it says, at the current rate, it will take 2158, the year 2158, to achieve gender parity according to the World Economic Forum. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, you're looking about generations upon generations, and we don't even know how far we'll come. And one of the things that I want to tell our listeners today, the sign for accelerate action is this sign they're showing, which is you raise your elbow halfway, you bend it a little, and make a fist. And that is the
It's like Rosie the Riveter.
like that
Yeah.
accelerate action. So in order to push that ahead, I'm going to urge all of you to do that sign, accelerate action. So, you know, just a few points before we circle back. You all accelerate action. So, you know, if we focus on the need to accelerate action, we emphasize the importance of taking swift, and not only swift, but decisive steps to achieve gender equality. And it calls for increased momentum and urgency in addressing the systemic barriers and biases that women face both in personal and professional spheres. And Teresa, Kelly, and Emily, you all have alluded to that. So, you know, it goes with what the other themes are all about. And this, I guess, the global IWD theme of accelerate action is a worldwide call to acknowledge strategies, resources, and activity that positively impact women's advancement and to support and elevate their implementation. Now, I want to stop there because I do want to circle back to the three of you, and then we will keep within our time frame due to some of us being at work and other commitments. So, Teresa, I'm going to open up the floor now to Kelly and Emily and myself. Are there any questions you wanted to put forward to Teresa for her insights into the theme that we discussed today, which is moving forward together, women educated and inspiring generations. Now, Teresa, before we start, one of the things that struck me is when you said Arabic was quite difficult for you to learn, but you went away and came back and had a strategy, and voila, everything was just cool. So, can you delve a little bit more into that? I know you were in a different place and time, so tell us why you found it so difficult.
Well, I think everything begins from the mind. There was the mental block. At first, I perceived learning Arabic to be difficult because, the first few lessons, you think you're grasping it, right? And the next minute, you're nowhere near so I have this mental block in my head and in my mind telling me that, okay, this is difficult. You cannot do it. And mental block and procrastination, and it's enough to actually send you back 10 years backward. So I think that everything we do in life, we just have to start with the right mindset, the right mind frame to actually project ourselves forward and tell ourselves, yes, I can do this. I believe in myself. I know that I can do it. So what happened was when I ran off the class, I was like, okay, you know what? I can do this. It's difficult. No, learning Arabic, it's not for me. And then few months down the line, I'm in a class now teaching English to ladies that have no idea what English is all about. And I see them having the same reaction that I had. So they also experienced that mental block. So now I could relate with how they were feeling. I could relate with what was going on right inside. And that was what, at that point, I knew I had to do something. First of all, I had to erase my own mental block to tell myself, okay, you know what? I want these women to learn English. I made a promise to learn Arabic. So I went back to the Arabic class. But eventually, what I did was I now started looking for strategies on how to make this easier for these women. Okay, the instruction is not flowing the way it should flow. I went back and broke down the entire instruction such that if you look at it, it looks like I'm teaching a grade 1 class. Okay, so if presenting that instruction means that these women can understand English, but with baby steps, then it's a win for all of us. It's a win for everybody. And the same thing I did in my Arabic class. So I had to go back, told my teacher she needed to break those lessons into baby steps. Like she had to break down the whole thing to kindergarten. The only way I can learn Arabic is if you put it down to kindergarten level. That's I was willing to go that low just to learn it. Like that's actually removing that mental block and telling myself, okay, yeah, I can do this. So now I want to put this now to the topic where we're actually talking about right now. So in order to accelerate the kind of movement that we're all talking about today as regarding women, we have to learn how to help each other. Helping each other is finding solutions for one another, which means that we should not see ourselves as competition. There is nothing to compete about, trust me. If we are able to see right through one another, just like Kelly said, we need to hold our hands together and do things together. Once there is a close and tight-knit existing, a strong relationship, a strong bond existed between us as women, I believe that we can do more. I believe that when we put all our ideas together and move into, say, political positions or, something of that nature, we can make significant changes. And then we can influence decisions, we can impact lives, we can make things happen and make things possible. So I believe that for this year's topic, we should have strategies on how we can help one another and also how we can remove any mental block that is telling us that we're not good enough. Or I think Kelly also mentioned something about women seeing ourselves as we are being underrated. That mental block has to go. Like the moment it leaves, you can do more as a woman.
Thank you for that, Teresa. Emily and Kelly, do you have anything to add to that before we move on to Kelly's talk today? What do you
Just say,
say?
Teresa, I have no idea how you possibly would learn a new language and not go kindergarten style. Like, I have
I
no
know.
possibly. Having done it several times myself, is like, give it to me 3 or 4 year olds, right? Like give me the basic building block. Please, don't give me advanced, because I am a person, I know I need those building blocks to
Exactly.
run.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. Yes.
I love those stories, and having been an immigrant, learning the mother tongue of the land I was into, I would have had loved a Teresa to help me with that along the way. So yes, I applaud your actions and your problem solving.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Emily, do you have anything you wanted to bring up with Teresa today?
Teresa, you're such an upgrade from Duolingo. I'd love to be in that class. I've been working on my Japanese for over a year and I'm still not at grade one. I think I need to get out of it.
Did you
I really
experience
liked
mental block? Did you experience mental block when you started?
sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't have nearly the responsibilities that you have on a day to day, so I can't complain too much. But I really liked when you said, we have to build each other up, and as women, we have to take a moment. I think you said something along these lines and reflect on what we can do for others. And it goes along with Kelly's quote where we all have to hold each other's hands. And I heard of something months ago, and it was the leave no trace policy. And it's something that's frequently discussed in regards to camping, right? When you go camping, you bring all of your things. You're supposed to take it all with you, including garbage, setup, everything. It's got to go. And this golden rule of leave no place worse than how you found it, I think it also applies to people. I think that, the more that we reflect on that being related to people is important. You shouldn't leave someone worse than how you found them. And I think this is particularly important for women and their attitude towards other women. We can be competitive and it's just not necessary anymore.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you, Emily. Yep. It's true.
And the competition is just the patriarchy pitting us against each other, right? Like that's it. There's no reason. It's like, what would we even be competing? I am not competing with anyone else for anything. I am rooting for us all, and I really mean that.
Yeah, let's do the sign, accelerate action. Thank you so much for joining us for part one of this special International Women's Day broadcast in collaboration with CHMR. But don't go away. We will take a short break for some updates on the news and weather, and then we will be right back to continue this inspirational and most amazing broadcast in the second hour. So stay with us and please don't go away. Thank you.
Your bumper is a magnet. I stick on like a magnet. A magnet.
Yeah, it's magnetic. Join Sarojini on Caribbean Connections, Thursdays at 1. Walk through the sands with poetry from our great leaders and academics. Jive with us to soca, reggae, chutney, and calypso. Get your current cricket results, meet special guests, and more. Every Thursday, 11:30 Eastern, 1 p.m. Newfoundland time.
That thing just sticking on, sticking on, sticking on, sticking on me.
Thank you for joining us again. We are now going to continue with part two of our amazing broadcast of this International Women's Day special in collaboration with CHMR. Well, Ellie, I'm going to circle back to you. I mean, I was there when you were having yard sale, selling off everything, going away to the Netherlands. I still have a couple of your candelabras. I use off that and the one
Good.
at Christmas
They went to
time.
a good
So,
home.
girl, I think about you, you know. And Teresa, I got your crates, what you were selling off. I'm storing a lot of those crates before you left. So, you guys are all over. But Kelly, I know you've had the struggles in the Netherlands. We've talked about that from time to time, and when you were there and when you left. But what I wanted to know, I mean, I've seen myself when I first came to this country as a foreigner, a foreign woman, a minority here in this big land of Canada. But I was very surprised to hear when you had mentioned to me as a white woman in the Netherlands you face discrimination, and I had found that hard to understand. I said, but you're white. Why would you face discrimination? Remember?
Yeah,
So
right.
I
Yeah.
want to know. I know you're in New Brunswick now. So why do you think that was? Because here we're talking about, as we all said, hold hands, move together in solidarity. Why do you think that you experienced that amongst these white women in the Netherlands?
There's an anti-immigrant vibe. And that's for many reasons. In Europe, there is Europeans have a pretty high lifestyle in comparison to the rest of the world, and there's a lot of places who want that higher lifestyle. Not a surprise. The other reality is the massive number of immigrants that come to countries like the Netherlands makes their economy so freaking strong. Like it's like the irony is ridiculous. And we were there, two immigrants, with a couple of masters each and all of this, and very specific, doing green energy things and that in the Netherlands. That they couldn't find anyone. It's a different world in there, just in comparison. So my husband worked in energy and things and was put out 100 resumes in Newfoundland and never heard a word back. And then we go to the and it was like every 4 to 6 weeks he was offered a job. So it was a general kind of different vibe completely with economies. But why do I think that? Well, right now is I have a friend who still live in the Netherlands. She's British, and she talking to her a couple of days ago, she says that and they just had two elections in the Netherlands, and both times the neo-Nazi party got the most seats.
Oh,
Because they have proportional representation, they don't necessarily form government, but that's the one party that got the most seats. And that's a guy who was literally talking about outlawing Islam, like really serious, extreme things. But the underlying racism in the Netherlands was rather shocking, and just kind of things that we don't say in Canada. Like there's still lots of racism in Canada, but it's like we're more polite about it. Like it wasn't in my face constantly. Like people saying nasty things and blaming people of color like on a daily basis was just like brand new to me. And then also I didn't get as bad as because I'm white presenting. I didn't get as bad a treatment as other folks because I was told, for an example, talking to some Dutch friends after school, and these were progressive Dutch friends. I was like happy. They were really into like climate crisis issues and like all of this. I was like amazing, so happy. Finally found some progressive friends. And after school one day, they were asking me where I was, and I showed them I was in Rotterdam, as where they were from, and so they're like, "Oh, did you see such and such?" And then I was like, "No. I literally, honest to God, this is the truth. I went to like their version of TJ Maxx. I was so missing my North American sensibly priced clothes, and so I had sought out like their version of TJ Maxx, which was exactly the same, by the way." And so I showed them, and they were like, "Oh," I showed them where I went, and they're like, "Oh, don't go there. That's where the immigrants go." It's like, I'm an immigrant. I feel more akin to with other immigrants than I do
yeah.
Dutch people, even though you might think I look like you, right? And honestly, there was there's a right wing rising, and it's not just happening in the Netherlands, it's happening in all places. Oh, I forgot to mention my British friend. She said that in the Netherlands right now, she's never felt so unwelcomed. She's in there 6 years now, and she says, and she was there before Brexit. She in the UK. She said it feels like before Brexit in the Netherlands.
Wow.
So, and I think that's what's happening. I think that's what we're seeing in the States too, is this.
We just saw it in Germany.
What's that?
We just saw the election in Germany. The AFD got a bunch of seats that they didn't deserve.
Absolutely. Thank goodness not enough to form government, but what next time?
But a lot more than they had last time.
Exactly. It's absolutely terrifying. So I kind of I guess I've always kind of felt like I was born to fight the good fight. And I feel like, under Biden in the States and then under Trudeau, like my interest, I was allowed to go after my interest of green energy transition and to start with the mega projects of offshore wind farms and all of that. But now that there's more encroachment on our rights, I'm feeling more fired up to go after the women's rights issue again and again, and to fire up my business, Strong Women Co. Even more, because it was actually when you were talking about accelerating action, Sarojini, I found myself frustrated by these words. And honestly, because I was like, Kelly, I often have a conversation with myself. I don't know if other people do this, but I was like, Kelly, why is this affecting you so much? And then it was like, cause it's bull. And it's like, okay, why do you think it's not true? And it's like, well, any accelerated action, anything that's kind of like pushed forward or whatever, a government, the next government comes and just races. And I've seen this so often. I've lived in several countries, and I keep seeing it, and it's very frustrating. So the thing that governments haven't been able to just wash away the next one to go in is incremental change. And I know that's unsexy, and I know it's boring, but it is harder to destroy and wipe out than big accelerated change in action. So I kind of think about those things because I am at this point in my life, I'm thinking sustainability, I'm thinking future. I'm not thinking just like a one-off, I do think about the future of our of the next generation. And I had mentioned to Sarojini that I had bought 2 days before the American election. And I am one of those people who genuinely thought Kamala was getting in. There was many reasons for that. I have been personally mourning the world I thought we lived in, that I was wrong about. But beyond that, I also have a horse in this fight, that all of our projects are American. And that's what brought us home from Europe, was Joe Biden's green energy deal. It matters who you vote for. And if Kamala had gotten in, I still think that Elon rigged the election for her, but if Kamala had gotten in, we would have had 20 years work. And now I had a meeting yesterday, and my head project manager said there's no new projects. So we have work for 2025 and 2026, but no new projects.
Wow.
And so that is the contracting, that is the closing, that is that happens. And being in Newfoundland, I know what that means. No new projects means a recession. No new projects means unemployment, right? So there's just like so much going on, and there is a tendency for this authoritarian right-wing conservative ideology to be pro-oil, to be anti-DEI, all of these things. And it just feels to me like anti-future, like anti-present, but definitely like anti-future. So there's plenty for us to work and fight against. And I guess what I would like to do is to say probably what I would want to hear. And that it is that we were made for these times. It's going to be a fight. Good thing we're here.
Yes.
We can and we shall make things better. There were how many women and good people before us that fought so that we could have these gorgeous lives with these many options right now. And, specifically speaking from a Canadian perspective, having been and lived in other countries, I do love this country so much, and there's so much here to fight for. And one of the best things about Canadians is how we take care of each other.
Oh,
And I
well,
see
thank
really,
you.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you for that,
I've
Kelly.
missed
Passionate
in living other
words.
places. In living other places, I miss that other people don't take care of each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Great perspectives, Kelly, where you've lived all over. And Emily, do you have anything burning questions for Kelly or Teresa that you want us to bring to the forefront at all?
I don't have any burning questions, but I really loved Teresa's opening comments about being a mom, being an author, being a friend, being a wife. You know, women, we've been raised and taught that we have to do it all. And I learned this concept of the do it all generation. You know, Gen X, like, and I applaud them. And I think that we're going to be looking to you guys for the next 4 years to get through the crazy stuff that we're reading every single day. And
Yes.
so I just wanted to say thank you. You know.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you, Emily. Thank you so much. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Emily. Thank you. And my dear sisters, I am paying close attention to the time because, like I promise you all, I want to stick to your schedules. But
Now I
you,
don't want to go back to work though.
pardon? Oh, oh, you're
I
at
don't know. I
work.
want to go back to work. I don't want
Okay,
to go back to work
okay. We'll do another hour. How about that? But you know, you all have mentioned some really, really important things. And Emily just hit the point of looking to us, you know, an older generation to guide the younger generation. And I'm happy you said that because when I looked at my children and the children of my friends and so on, some are grandparents as well, you know, we feel sometimes that with the modern technology and access to so much so quickly by just the flick of a thumb, that we are not as needed. But I always, a lot of times I would open up talks or conversation and say, well, guys, let me tell you all something. I'm old school, right? I do like the technology to a point, but for me, I feel there's a lot we're missing out with not being in tune with the older generation. And I'll tell you something. I went and paid a visit to Juniper House. Juniper House is the new office slash accommodation place for indigenous students at Memorial University. The house was owned by the Butler family. The Aboriginal group of folks at MUN and organizations bought that house. They've renovated it. I had a beautiful tour of it. I've been in touch with a few folks over there at the office, and I decided I'm going to go visit Juniper House. I was trying to get one of the women on the panel, but she's been gone for a couple of weeks and won't be back till next week. So I'm going to have to catch her the next time. But it's a beautifully renovated place. And what I notice every time I go into these spaces, there's always a calmness about it. And one time I actually asked one of the gals that I see there, I said, you know what? Every time I come here, it's always so calm. And she said, but you know, in our culture, in the indigenous and Aboriginal culture, we don't yell. We don't scream. We're always at one with nature. So we have to mellow with everything. And I never thought of it that way. And I found that actually very impactful. And what I liked about that culture is that they value the elders' opinions so much. Like it's almost first and foremost. You have a sickness, we're going to go see the woman elder over there. You have a problem with your marriage, we're going to go see the man elder and the woman elder. Like the elders in the communities are so important. Now, where I'm from, I'm what we would term ourselves Indo-Caribbean folks, meaning My background is Indian, originally from India. I'm fourth generation. My ancestors came on the ships that the British brought over to the Guyana and the Caribbean to develop the land. So we've held a lot of the culture there. The religion is very much alive, Hinduism, Islam, all of that. There's also a big section of Christianity among Indians for political and economic reasons. Many books have been written on that. I wouldn't get into too many details. However, women are still valued a lot when it comes to some of these things, whether it's educating, someone is sick, they have special remedies. We go to the elder woman, And when I was growing up, I used to love dad because you call everybody auntie. It's just a term of respect, And Teresa may know that. They're not an auntie by blood, but we as young kids would never say Mr. So and so. We would go to someone's house and say uncle or auntie. And sometimes I wish if we would have that in today's society. Now, my daughter's friends, many of them call me by my first name, and that's okay. And it's usually the folks from the Indian diaspora, they'll call me auntie. And many also call me by my first name, Sarojini. So I have a combination which I like. But I feel that as women, our role in society has definitely changed. And I can see coming from my ancestors from India to Guyana and then here. Like, I feel sometimes I may not be as important in my kids' lives or the children of my friends' lives, and then sometimes I do. And I think, like Emily said, it depends on the situation. And I long sometimes to have my aunties close by. We don't have anyone in Newfoundland, no family, but we've made a very nice group of friends who we also call family. Like they say, you can't choose your family, but you can choose friends who can be your family. And I want to just add my little 2 cents worth to kind of clue up what all of you have said in pushing forward to educate the younger generation of women. I don't want them to forget about the old traditions, but I also want them to embrace the new. Because me having lived in Canada more than I have lived in my home country, I consider myself a Canadian first, but in my heart, I'll always belong there. But I also hold certain values that are dear, many of which were taught by my older aunties, and some of these folks were not educated. They didn't have the money to go to institutions of higher learning. Like my father, for instance, had to quit school at 12 years old to support himself. His family couldn't afford it. But you know what? He built a very nice empire in back home because in his mind, he wanted to succeed and he wanted his 7 children to do well. And he worked hard with my mother, the two of them. I remember them working all the time, and babysitters and aunties and uncles and older nephews would take care of us while they just work and work and work. And they did it together. It's almost like my dad couldn't do it without my mom, even up to the shirt he chose. I would say, Dad, what are you going to wear to the event? I don't know, whatever mommy picks out. Even after my mom passed away, one of my sisters always had to pick out my dad's clothing. And I thought, this is so sweet of my dad. He really missed that. My mom guided him in so many ways that we didn't see until we became older. And I wanted to share that because coming to Canada has taught me so much. And I am just so grateful for the life here, for all the wonderful folks I've met like you guys. And I'm going to wrap that up with my 2 cents worth because I could go on forever, okay? Okay, guys, what are your parting words? I'll start with Teresa. What is that message you want to leave today with the young generation of women coming up?
Okay. All right. So my parting words would be um, believe in yourself, don't give up. Sometimes it sometimes it feels impossible. It feels like you cannot achieve that or do that. Never underestimate yourself, never underrate yourself. You're strong, you can do more, and you should actually aim for more. We all have to be very ambitious as women, honestly. We all have to do something for ourselves, feel good about ourselves. And above all, education is still the key, man. Education will empower you, education will make you confident, education will put you on a different pedestal, and that's where we all want to be, because together we can do more. If we have a good number of strong women, then we can actually pull the weak ones and tied whole knot all together. So, which falls into we supporting one another, helping one another, and most of all, loving one another, because you have to actually love someone to go the extra mile, right? Yeah. So that is my summary for the whole. And for Kelly, look, you're a good motivational speaker. Don't waste your talent. Please, I want to see you as a member of a house or a member or speaker of a house in the government. That's where I want to see you, honestly. Uh, I'm going to come for your inauguration. Trust me, I'm going to come.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Emily, thank you so much for your input. Thank you so much for all that you've said. I almost caught you crying a little bit when you were talking about your friend, but yeah, it's okay. And I'm glad that you could come on the show, and yep, it was really nice meeting you, and I'm hoping that, in the future we can have more collaborative shows and things that we can do together.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you for that. Emily, I'll start with Emily and then move over to Kelly here. What do you want to leave for the young generation coming up? What do you want to tell them about education moving forward in solidarity to better yourselves?
Oh, if I could go back in time and speak to my young self about education,
Yeah.
pay attention. I would like to tell young women to pay attention, learn as much as you can, be curious. I don't think young women are taught enough to be curious and to ask questions and take up space. I encourage all of you to take up space and ask hard questions, no matter how uncomfortable they may be. Kelly mentioned earlier that in the uncomfortable conversations we grow. And I think that is so important for young women to understand that it's okay to speak up. It's okay to ask for things. It's okay to set up boundaries. It's okay to be possessive of your time and your energy. That's all right. And we're all with you. We all see you. And the best way to help yourself is to help other women. The best way to feel good about yourself is to do something nice for someone else. So the next time you see a woman, smile at her, open a door for her. You don't know whose mother, daughter, sister she is, right? And that's kind of all I had to say. And Kelly, I heard that there's actually an opening for the Premier of Newfoundland. Just saying.
I'm so mad about that, but yes.
Yes, we're all very happy.
Kelly, you should do it. Do it, Kelly.
Actually,
do it.
we found out the news yesterday because we are talking about going home. Just so my husband said, he's like, "Is it now? Should we go now?"
Kelly, just do it. I'm gonna come. Really, I'm serious. I'm gonna
Thank
come
you.
for it.
It's a matter of when, not if. So your support actually is filling up my heart a lot right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you so very much. Very emotional and passionate words there, and I wanted to share Teresa's sentiments. I saw you tears welling up and you getting emotional when you talked about your friend, and I wanted to ask you, and just very quickly, and this was a woman who passed away. Why did she mean so much to you and make your heart so broken when she passed away? But what was it about her that made you even today felt that loss in your soul?
Well, she died on February 29th, and we're almost there. So I think it was just the timing. And also, she was a woman who was unrelated to me. I wasn't her daughter. I wasn't her sister. I was just a friend. And there was a huge age gap in that friendship. And I think that the way that she treated me was very special. She treated me as her equal. She treated me as if I had the same knowledge and wisdom as all the other women in book group, which I simply do not have. And I so appreciated that. And I think that, I could talk about tons of other women in my life who have inspired me this past year. My grandmother, Ruth, she passed away as well in 2024. She was 90 some odd years old, and she went by medically assisted suicide. That was a bold choice, and I'm so grateful that she had that choice. She was a feminist in her own right. She adopted 3 children. She volunteered for the pro-choice movement in Ontario. She was a nurse and the best crossword puzzler I've ever met. And women like that are legacies for women my age. And I think that that's why I was so emotional.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying all of that. Very, very good. Thank you. Kelly, all right. You want to say your parting words, my love?
Well,
Take
yes,
it
and
away.
also just to feed on the Joan Scott piece. So, how you were describing Joan Scott, I can think of myself and 4 other women who would describe her in a
Mm.
similar way, that she took us under her wing. And like it was Joan Scott who invited me to the Writers Guild and kept inviting me to the Writers Guild. And I was like 20 years younger than the next person, and she would just invite us to the house for tea, or we'd go out for a walk with her dogs, or and what's great about Joan Scott as well, and I mean this was 20 years ago I did my master's, so really aging myself, but I believe she also wrote a book with Judith Butler, and Judith Butler is one of the foremost feminist scholars in the world. And one of the great things, Judith Butler is amazing. And so she talks about no real change can happen until you become undone, right? Like in all of this. But she also talks about how independence is a lie and how there's no one in the world who is actually fully independent. And it's this capitalist kind of modern lie that we have. And that then we are made feel that we are somehow at a deficit or incompetent or otherwise when we don't have everything together. And so Judith Butler specifically talked about it through the lens of folks who had physical disability and needed help. But she said, that's everyone, right? Like it's not, sure, someone might need help with the door, but we all need help. And this villainizing help is ridiculous and anti-evolutionary and just inaccurate and pro-patriarchy and the lies that holds up. And that kind of segues into what I want my last message to be, which was when I was thinking about it, the empath in me, I just like tapped into like, what do I think that young women in particular need to hear? And I love Teresa's motivation, and Emily, you had a lot of really good like nuggets of things to, yes, helpful. And my tone's going to seem a little strange maybe at first, but the message I want young women to know is it's okay to not be okay.
Very good.
It's okay to not have all your crap together. It's okay to fall apart. It's okay to need help. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to not know which step is your next one. All of that is okay. And you don't need to put on a mask or a facade or anything and pretend you're okay, although sometimes that can be helpful. But you have to be honest with yourself, right? And to be honest is like, I know so many women put on a brave face, and they have to do that for all the people around them that would fall apart if they didn't put the brave face on. So what I'm suggesting, in the safety of our sisterhood, in the safety of whoever you do feel vulnerable, you can be vulnerable with, it is okay to not be okay. In fact, it is how you should be sometimes. We shouldn't be okay all the time. And I would like for us just to have that kind of honest reality and that kind of honest discussion of that we do need each other. And it isn't just people with physical disabilities. It is every single being on this planet. Even a hermit who goes to live in the woods, they got knowledge from someone and they comes into a store once or twice, like there's no one in this world who doesn't need other people. And needing other people has been painted as a bad thing.
I know.
Agree. And let's bring back Judith Butler and Joan Scott's honest vision of this, that we need each other, and that is how we survive. That is
right.
How animals survive, plants, right? Like we need each other, and that is beyond okay. It is being human. It is being woman. And so just lean into that and be very nice to yourself as we embark on 2025, which proves to be already quite the challenging year. So it is a marathon, not a sprint. Actually, it's not a marathon. It's like an Ironman. It's like a running and a biking and a swimming, right? Like it's a bunch of different things. So that, and take breaks when you need to. But we need you in the fight. You were born for this. Let's do this together. Nobody let go of anybody's hands.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that's really good, Kelly. That's awesome. I was going to say something. I think I lost my line of thought, but Emily, do you know Grace Brabenton?
No, Grace Brabenton.
For our listeners, she's nodding.
I was going to say something. So it's funny because when
Grace hosted the last book group at her house too. I was at her house a week ago.
Small world.
On Sunday.
Lovely.
I love her. She's so sweet.
She is, absolutely. Ginny said something about, the first, she talked about the First Nations and how they have so much respect for elders and how they believe the elders are more knowledgeable. And so how did I get into the whole board member here, there? So I when I arrived in Newfoundland, I didn't know anyone. I arrived with my little baby then and my family, my two daughters and my husband. So I met Grace. I think she was among the first people I met. And she told me that there was some kind of a writers association. She was like, "Oh, you're an alt, you write?" I said, "Yeah, I write. Yeah, I'm an alt." So I was like, "Okay, there is a group where authors meet and talk about books." And she invited me. That was at her house, actually. So I went there, and all other members of the Writers Guild were there. I didn't know anyone. I've never seen them in my life before. And they happened to be talking about, oh, election is coming up and we need a new board member. And the whole room went quiet.
Ooh.
And Grace just turned around and looked at me. Theresa is here. I was like, no.
I can picture her saying it.
Oh, Grace, no. I do. No, said no. Theresa is here. She can do it. She's going to be our new board member. Like, what? I was like, Grace, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. Like, no, I see things in you you do not know. I see potentials in you you haven't seen yet. But I think that you will do it. You can do it. You will fit in and you're going to do it. I was like, okay.
Oh,
So that was what I got into. Yeah. And from there, after the tenure was over, from there, I went into the board member for the AC Hunter Library. And yeah, so
You might also know, do you know Georgina Keller?
I would
Huh?
know. The name sounds familiar, but I can't picture the face right now. I would
Okay.
know.
We could continue if we have the time. We're just gonna talk a couple, off the side. But I want to thank you, Kelly, for coming on board. I know you're leaving for your holidays to Mexico tomorrow.
Oh,
So we managed to get everybody together before you did go. Thank you,
You're
my
right.
dear sister.
Thank you,
Stay in
Kelly.
If I
touch.
can interject one last time,
Yeah.
Teresa, thank you for saying that because as you were describing all these things, I could think about all these times in my life where I was like just showing up to a random committee. Honestly, an IWD committee was one of the first things I did. And there was older women who were like in the labor movement, and
Yep.
they were like Nancy Rich in particular. I don't know if anyone here knows it. And she'd be like, "Get the young one to do it. The young one can
Yep.
do the press conference. The young one." I'd be like, "Me?"
Hmm?
And
I
and
get volunteered for everything in book group.
she pushed me into, and she's just one example, she pushed me into things that I didn't feel like I had the confidence for, but I
Exactly.
trusted her judgment, and I was like, she seems to think I should be able to do it, maybe I can. And so I
Yeah.
just want to highlight when we do that for each other, right?
Mhm,
Like, and it doesn't even
mhm.
need to be an age thing, like
Yeah.
literally, like, hey, I think you should run, or hey, I think you'd be good at this, or for good for this board. Like women, when they're actually asked or said these things, like we listen, right? And when we are told that we can be helpful, oh, we step up. But it does take sometimes, and that is countering the knowledge of the patriarchy and that mind block. It is helpful, and one of the ways to get rid of that mind block is to have another woman who you believe in and trust say, I think you can do it. And
Yeah.
then
Go do it.
go watch yourself do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Thank you. So the three of us could stay on for a few more minutes, wrap up. Kelly, thank you from the bottom of my
Thank you
heart.
to all you
Yeah.
ladies. Mad mega love. Learned a lot. Feeling the love. It always happens, Sarojini. You just attract gorgeous people, obviously.
It's
Bye,
my nature. Okay. All right. So I didn't mean to interrupt there, Teresa, but you were talking to Emily about Grace, right? How
Oh,
she wanted you to be a member, and I want to hear that story because I have it in your bio. You're on the board. So what ended up happening there?
Oh well, she wouldn't take no for an answer. Like, no, I'm not gonna. She said, no, you won't do it. You won't do it. I know you can do it. I see things in you don't know, you don't see it, but you're going to do it. So she didn't give me an option to say no. So I agreed. I had no clue what I was doing, but later on, keyed into it and I flew with it. Yeah, and ever since then, she inspires me totally.
Was she guiding you along? Because you had just come to Newfoundland, didn't know anyone, and were you getting some kind of guidance in any form, shape, or manner from her or anyone else?
Well, once in a while I run into her. She'll be like, "So how are we doing over there?" I'm like,
Uh,
"Well, I'm still here. I'm still here." Yeah, but I mean, really, I think for me it was at that point, I think I just needed that push, and she
yeah.
was just there at the right time. Timing is everything in life, really. Timing is everything. For some reason, I'm not sure why she believed in me. She has never seen me before.
I
I just met
know.
her. I just met her, but for some reason, she felt like I could handle this, and
Yeah.
she just gave
turns
me
out she
that.
was right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what she saw, really. I don't know, but the whole thing, it's magical, man. It's magical. And I never, never, never forget her. Never. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
I'll tell
amazing.
her that you said that.
And
Yes.
Grace is still with the book club, right, Emily? You said she's still there. You said something about she hosted the last book club meeting.
I was at her house on Sunday.
Oh,
How
that's
old is
good.
Grace now?
I don't know exactly how old she is. I
Roughly, I
don't.
know.
But do
She's
you think
gotta
you would
be.
remember me? Tell her you met Teresa. Teresa
I
Ezeuko.
will. I'll send her. I'll send her a message. Um, she's got to be in her 80s.
Yeah, I think
Wow, that's
Yeah, most of my book group members are in their 80s, 70s. We have a couple in their late 40s. It's such a diverse group, and what I love about this book club is that we discuss the book, but we also discuss how it relates to our own personal lives. And I find that these women, because they have this lived experience, they bring so much to the discussion, and it is so incredible to watch them interact with each other as sisters once a month. It is my favorite tradition, and I encourage all women to join a book group or to join a club or an activity that you enjoy doing, right? And making sisters out of the people that you spend your time with.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
a good point, Emily, because I think Teresa and I saw too. Um, if you find like-minded people when you're in a
Mhm.
new place, whether it's a family or fellow sisters, women, it inspires you more and you feel a little bit more at home, and it makes you, I guess, want to do more rather than sitting around and thinking, oh, I'm here by myself, that sort of thing. And I know you, Emily, and Teresa shared those sentiments because, Teresa, you met Grace and other folks through the Writers Guild, and that spawned so much. We came to being. I met you just by Googling. I just Googled, some writers in NL, and I wanted someone for Black History Month from that perspective as a writer. And you came up, and then that led to so many more opportunities. You had a show on CHMR, and then we met Kelly, and other folks came into the picture. So it is very true. And Emily, you're right. The older women generation, they have so much to teach us, and so much to tell us.
And we have a lot to teach them too.
Exactly.
That's
Well, this
correct.
is why I like it's a good marriage because, like my son Matthias, one day we were just sitting, shooting the breeze, and I was talking about things that I had done while in Ontario, and he goes, Mom, I didn't know you did all of that. Oh my gosh, because I don't know why, but I don't talk about everything. So he was taken aback that I had done these things that he didn't think I had done. And I think as I get older, some of it fade away and I don't talk about it or I don't feel it's as important. Not that it's bad or wrong. And Renata was the same when she was his age. I would bring up events I had done, and she would say, "Oh, I didn't know you did that." And now we're getting older, and we don't want those lessons to be lost. And that's why sometimes I say I long for my older aunties because many of whom are gone now and I can't get those lessons anymore. They've taken it with them. So I feel I could still learn and I could share my knowledge and experience with the younger generation in some form, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And actually, the part where you talked about going on Google and finding me there, I use that for my students now.
Oh,
Tell them, you
yeah.
know what, just Google me.
Google you.
And then, and then now they have this idea in their head that, oh, your teacher, oh, the celebrity teacher. Oh, I had one of them come up on it to say, so what can they do to go on Google? I was like, well, just work hard, keep reading, do well at school. So it's working. So that that inspiration, they get inspired by things like,
Yeah.
oh, teacher is on Google. Yeah, they really love
Okay.
that. Also, I also want to talk about Grace. Grace pushing me out there also opened that opportunity for in 2019 when I moved back to Calgary.
Mhm.
I think was it 2019? Yes, sometime around that. So, well, timing is
Oh,
everything again.
Teresa, just to interrupt for 1 minute. I think Emily may have to leave now. You have work
I'm so
commitments.
sorry. Yeah, I have to join another meeting, but this was
Okay.
so lovely. Thank you so
Okay,
much for having
okay.
me, Sarojini. Teresa, it was lovely meeting you. I can't
Yeah,
wait to talk to Grace about you,
me
and
too.
let's keep in touch.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Emily.
Thank
All
you for
right.
coming on board, Emily, and
Of
a
course.
special thank you for stepping up to the plate in our moment of need.
Anytime,
Thank you.
anytime.
Thank you so much. I will be in touch with all of you and accelerate action. All right? Okay. You take care.
All
And
right.
Teresa, it's
Bye.
you and I. Thanks. Bye, Emily. All right, Teresa. Yeah, you were saying,
Yeah, I
great.
was just gonna say, so in 2019, when I arrived in Calgary, I joined the Writers Guild, and they happened to be looking for a new, a vice president and a president. And I was like, okay, well, I ran for the election with no clue. I was like, okay, I'm probably not gonna win, but let me just try. Let me just
Yeah,
and I ran for that election and I won that election.
I
So that was how
know.
I became the vice president of the Writers Guild in 2019. But yeah, and this is all thanks to Grace too, for pushing me out there and for making me, you know, believe in myself in a way that was unimaginable. But here we are. So yeah, I mean, this falls into the whole women supporting women and
Mhm.
holding each other's hands and working together and so yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, Jenny. That's it.
And you and I both have lived in different countries. You probably more than myself. Do you find that the places you've moved to live, do you find there was a good support network amongst the women, some good solidarity that really helped to mold you where you were and push you ahead to do things in that location of residence at the time?
Oh yeah, everyone I've met in my life have been really supportive. I've had really strong networks and it's there's always something to learn every day and I really love an environment where everyone can succeed, everyone can thrive together, and
Mhm.
so we all have something that we're all bringing to the table. We all tap into each other's knowledge, we're all tapping into each other's strengths and helping those that are weak to stay strong. And yes, I mean everyone that I've met in my course of traveling and has been really really a good support network for me, and at the same time good relationships and friendships have come out of those
Awesome. And have you kept in touch with some of these folks?
oh yes, yes, well, I
Great.
try my best to stay in touch. I'm not good at always staying in touch because um the life happened and I drift off. I
I
quickly drift
know. And
off.
it happens to all of us. I
Yeah,
share the
yeah, but
sentiments. I have to make a concerted effort many times,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you can't help it, man. A lot of things happen, and life becomes so busy, so fast, so quick, and got
Yeah,
to deal with all you got to deal with. And before you know it, you've drifted off too far, and you can't find your way back, and everyone
I
moves on from there.
know.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but apart from that, in general, those that I'm able to still keep, I keep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Teresa, I know you're joining us from the furthest, so thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And I know Kelly and Emily had work commitments and they had to run off, but I want to take this opportunity for you to staying in touch, for staying in touch with me. So I had you on my mind when this special
Oh,
broadcast came up. And I really do wish you, your husband, your family all the best with work, with life, everything. And whenever you come back here, even for a visit, do let
sure.
us know, and we'll try and have a party together somewhere,
Oh,
a
that sounds good.
dinner,
I'm
a
gonna come.
lunch.
I'm gonna come then. I want that party. I'm gonna hold you
Yeah,
to that.
yeah,
I'm
come.
gonna
And
hold you to that.
I told Kelly the same thing. If you're driving over here or taking the ferry or plain, even if it's an afternoon, depending, where you are. If you're on the West Coast, I know it's harder, but if you're around the area, let's meet. It's great to stay in touch. And
Sounds good.
thank you, Teresa, from the
Sounds
bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me, to the program. We will stay in touch. And before we end, we got to do accelerate action. Hooray! Strong women. May we be them and teach our children to be like them, right?
That's right. Thank you so much, Sarojini, for having me in the show. Thank you so much. I'm glad that we could do this. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Let's stay in touch. Take care and bye
All
for
right.
now. Bye bye. Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye. Thank you to all of you for sticking around for our very special International Women's Day broadcast in collaboration with CHMR. You must admit we had an amazing panel with some terrific women offering various views on the theme for Women's History Month, which is Moving Forward Together, Women Educated and Inspiring Generations. And I actually spoke a little bit on the IWD theme of 2025, which is Accelerate Action. Well, I hope it was certainly wonderful for all of you, as this broadcast was for us. We want to thank you so much for joining us, folks. It really meant a lot. Take care of yourselves. Go out there, inspire the young generation, inspire all the young women, and let them see that the sky isn't the limit and that they can do whatever they put their mind to. Now, don't go away. We still have some time, a little bit for our broadcast. So stick around and we're going to play some wonderful music and then say goodbye. So take care of yourselves. Be kind. Stay well. And we will see you again next time. Bye for now.